Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about stories. I love storytelling style. I create content by using storytelling, and today we are going to cover a lot more. And our main topic, the 7 essential stories charismatic leaders tell. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Kurian Tharakan. How are you?
Good, Anatoly. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, big pleasure. Want to learn more about that? I know it's important to share stories, and big brands usually share stories. And I love this quote: "Companies don't sell products; they sell stories." So let's talk more about that. Kurian, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you pay attention to this topic that leadership and telling stories.
So I'm a sales and marketing strategy consultant. So I've been doing this for well over 27 years now, maybe closer to well over 30 is possible, right? And I started out in selling, in sales right out of university. And I quickly realized, sales is only a portion of the topic. The other portion, the other half is marketing. And then I quickly figured out that within marketing, the essence of it is the idea of being able to tell a compelling narrative, and that narrative is a whole bunch of different things. The very first thing you sell is the big idea, surrounded by some key messages, all encompassed in a narrative, and that narrative is with your customer as hero. Once they buy into that story, and it's a transformation story of how your hero, the customer, will become something bigger, better, different as a result of using your products and services. So that transformation story is the first thing they sell. No one transacts cash for that. But once they buy into it, then the actual product sale becomes an absolute it just happens.
Yeah, nice. I think it's important to share stories. For example, I remember a great story that Tim Cook shared in new presentation about Apple Watch, and he shared even 3 stories, not one. And after watching all these stories, I got the feeling I need to have it. I need to own this Apple Watch because this gadget can help me a lot, can decide my problems, simplify my life. Yeah, you watch this presentation as well. And
Yeah. Apple is a master storyteller, and they're a corporation, but they have stories embedded in everything they do.
Yeah. And what I like on this presentation, that Tim Cook didn't share a lot of features that Apple Watch has, because many other smartwatches can have such features, but he shared 3 stories how Apple Watch decides problems, and I got the feeling I need to have it. I need to own this Apple Watch, and I bought 3 pairs for me, for my son, for my wife, because these guys probably kill me, if I buy only for myself. It's selfish, but can you tell how to create similar stories that provokes to make actions, that ask customers, you need to do it, you need to take it, you need to have it? Any insights about that?
Well, the very first thing before you craft your story is you have to have a deep understanding and empathy for your customer, who they are today, specifically their identity. And what I say is that everything that you bring into your life, whether it's a new product or a new relationship or a new anything, does one of only 3 things. It either supports, enhances, or repairs your sense of self-identity. If it's counter to your sense of self-identity as a customer, you will not bring it into your life. You will reject it. But if it has any ability to support, enhance, or repair, you're at least going to be intrigued. Your curiosity is going to be raised as to exactly how it's going to do those things. Once you understand the identity of that customer, have an empathy for who they are today and where they want to go and who they want to be tomorrow, you then have the basis of a transformation story. And then if you can fit your products and services as a way to enable that transformation story, then you've got the start to a whole set of story themes that you can incorporate and adopt.
Nice. Okay. Can you tell how to learn customers then if we need to craft the story? Because everything starts from customers, preferences. And it's interesting. Many years ago, when I started my digital marketing journey, I had an online shop, but I didn't spend any time to learn my customers because competition was low. So I created content, Google ranked, I set up paid marketing, for example, Google ads, Facebook ads, by paying 5-10 cents per click. But things change. Today I need to pay $5-10. I can't get back even $5-10 if I don't consider customer preferences, learning their insights. So can you tell how to do it? Because I see when companies analyze the average data from tools, from studies, but it doesn't mean that your customers are the same. Even more, your customers are different, even if you sell the same products. Any tips how to learn customers before creating story?
Well, there's probably two different ways to do that. And the first way is to actually watch their behavior. And if you're online, it's very easy to do, is to watch their behavior in how they interact with different online assets. So, for example, if you got a category of product that you're in and that category fits a certain kind of lifestyle that your customers are living, let's say it's a hunting lifestyle or fishing or whether it's gardening, things like that, the easiest thing to do would be to go over to YouTube, go over to Twitter, go over to Facebook groups, and take a look at the top viral content in those particular channels. And you're looking for the most likes, the most interactions and engagement with that content. And you have a pretty good idea at that point in time what we call the zeitgeist. What is the essence of what is going on in the minds of the mass of customers. This is a group thing. This is a group thing now, right? So that particular group of gardeners now really love this kind of video. That group of hunters and fishermen like this kind of Twitter tweets and such. So now we have a whole bunch of different topics and, more importantly, angles to the topic. And the angles are more important. The angles is simply a perspective to that topic. So the topic might be, for example, environmentalism. And, the angle might be environmentalism has barely touched the surface of where it needs to be. And the other angle might be environmentalism has gone too far. And those are two different angles. And so depending on where you go with all this kind of stuff, you have a pretty good idea of what your customer is thinking. From there, you would then craft some depth interviews, and you would try and find people within the categories that represent your perfect archetype, that perfect avatar. And you would get 20, 30, 40 of these interviews going to really understand what they do, how they do it, why they do it. The most important thing is why. What is the motive behind their actions? And between the overall zeitgeist of the trends in viral content and these depth interviews, you're going to find your own position.
Yeah, interesting. You remind me the quote that the era of lazy marketers is dead. Because if you wanna get or collect data about your customers, you need to spend time to provide this deep research. And I'm interested about getting enough data than getting over data. We have 3 points: less data, enough data, over data. And I found that many data specialists usually tell you don't need to collect more data than you need. And because it can confuse what to do, where to pay attention. And I remember when Jeff Bezos replied to the request of research team that asked him, please provide more time to learn about this product, a new product, because he told nobody knows. We need to test, we need to experiment, we need to do it. And this product was Alexa. Today, most homes in the US have this product. So Jeff Bezos got enough data and started to implement this product. Can you tell how to find the balance between less, enough, and over data?
I think the ultimate thing is this. If we take a look at the ultimate thing is, are you getting the response to the communication that you have? And and the communication might be simply, you're giving a speech and you're finding how many people clap for you enthusiastically, not the polite clap, but they are just right into it. But online, for example, with e-commerce, the ultimate thing is, what's the click-through rate? What's the conversion rate? What's your average order value? And those kind of things. And if those items, those KPIs, and you might have 20, 30 KPIs, of which 5 or 6 are really important. If those KPIs are well below average, that means you do not understand your customer. That's all it means. Now, if those KPIs are very, very high in comparison with the average, then you probably have a very good understanding of your customer's motives and identity. And you can now double and triple down on that understanding. So all you're doing is testing that, those KPIs. And you'll have different KPIs for different channels, whether it be physical channels or online channels.
Can you tell what to do if you launch a new product? So you don't know customers, you don't know what they want to get, but you can learn competitors, their pain points, so you can see why customers are not satisfied with existing products, because most great products appeal when customers are not satisfied with existing products, and new products can provide new benefits, much better experience. So can you tell how to learn customers if you start from scratch?
If you start from scratch, was it a brand new product category, or are you trying to supplant the product?
A brand new category, brand new product, everything new.
Well, there's only one way to do that, and that is to actually put the product in front of as many people as you can and have absolutely no ego when it comes to the results. In fact, you are the absolute best person to put that in front of somebody. In fact, we always know that if you've hired a market research team and things like that, as a small entrepreneur, if you've done that, you probably don't have the innate, soulful understanding of the pain points and the passion points that your customers really want to see in the product. I had an entrepreneur come to me a few years ago, and he had invented a brand new household tool. It's a very common tool you would find in your toolkit, your tool bag. And he had invented this. He had then gone out and spent $30,000 on getting a patent for it. And he got a patent for it. And, and a lot of naive entrepreneurs say, wow, I got a patent for this. But realistically, the patent only says you're unique and you have different features. It doesn't mean that anybody's going to buy it from you. When I asked him how many people he had shown this tool to, he said none. Absolutely none. And my meeting with him lasted all of 15 minutes, but I knew immediately that no one's going to use this. Yeah, you've got a patent for it, but the way to sell these products is by getting onto the shelves of Home Depot and Lowe's. You don't sell it one by one, and those people already had their own products in that category. And this product was so silly, even with a patent, that there's no possible way he was going to do that. It was a very quick meeting, and he will never get that $30,000 spend back.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Okay, I want to talk about creativity. I found that creativity is the most important aspect at any content, because I see, for example, today we live in the era of AI tools, ChatGPT, many others, Jasper. We have our tool that can help to create text for all website pages. So you need to add your website to get text. But it's interesting that I found all these tools, AI, are not creative. It's hard to get creative stuff by using AI. If you ask ChatGPT, please create a story, this tool will create the story, but it's not creative, And I like the example from Lloyd Richardson. It's interesting about the story that he published a book 11 years ago, and he spent 14 years to write this book. So much effort, but he couldn't sell this book for around 11 years. So he tried marketing channels, sales channels, but it didn't help. Then his daughter posted content on TikTok
Right.
for account with 0 followers. 0. And this video became viral. Plus 50 million watched this video. Today, this book is bestseller on Amazon. So I watched this video. It's not like many other content that we have today. Not nice looking design, just simple design, nothing special. But I got curiosity. Wow, what is the book? The author spent 14 years to write this book. It's probably valuable stuff. It's interesting. So that was creative, not like many other marketing messages that we have today. So can you tell how to be creative, how to become creative if you create your story?
We regularly use AI tools in the creation of copy for our clients, but we tell them we're using AI tools. We have a whole division of our company that does coaching for e-commerce merchants. It's called Merchant Mastery, Shopify merchants. And so we give them the tools to develop copy, create copy, etc. Now, what we always say to them is AI, Chat GPT, if you put your about page in there and your customer reviews in there and things like that, it can hone in very quickly to the major ideas of what people find valuable. But ultimately, you have to use your own personality and brand voice to come up with something creative that is very different. I always know when Chat GPT has created something because it doesn't have as much flavor in the writing as when a human does it. And that flavor is what makes it real and authentic and your own. And so ChatGPT is a great tool to get you 80% of the way there, but it's that last 20% that is very, very difficult to really tap into. And the only way you can do that is by tapping into your deep soul, deep heart, and then expanding that through your mind into something that is very cogent and, more importantly, you. It's got to be you in that text.
Yeah, I think, it's important to use AI like any other tool, by the way, in the correct way. I mean, like, for example, when Elon Musk shared on Twitter how he asked ChatGPT about very specific question, I spent like 3 times to read this question, to understand what Elon Musk wanna ask from ChatGPT to understand. And ChatGPT gave long answer answering to this question, but I see when people set up generic requests like write an article about weight loss, please give me tips about that, very simple. So you need to create the right prompts. And guys, if you have no prompts, the best way how you can find them, ask ChatGPT provide these prompts.
I've done that.
You can ask,
well, right?
Yeah, you can ask ChatGPT, please help me with prompts that will help me to create great content by using ChatGPT. Simple. Yeah. And okay, I'm interested about other aspects that customers love, simplicity, or even not only simplicity, even more about creating non-boring content. I found that most content are boring. According to data that we have, people bounce watching videos fast on YouTube, like 80% can bounce in the first 20 seconds. It's the same with website content. It's the same with any content, audio, podcast, it doesn't matter. And people usually read only 5% of all books. So 95% are ignored because it's boring. And once I spoke with Jim Edwards, he worked in Business Insider in 10 years, and he told me that their success depends on creating non-boring content. So if you create non-boring content, then you can win your customers, you can hook them, you can catch their attention, retain them until the end. But I see when people create boring content, and for example, when I read some business books, I love them reading, but most of them are boring. When I take them, most of them are great for sleeping. When you have problems with sleep, it's valuable, but it's boring. Can you tell how to create non-boring content?
The only way to do that is by tapping into the deep pain and passion points of your customer. You have to have that deep empathy to understand their pain and passion points even better than they do. Once you understand that, then you know how to tease those pain and passion points, create curiosity, create intrigue, create a sense of excitement and compelling content. Then from there is a matter of writing it out. You might not be a great writer by yourself, and so you might want to hire somebody to do that. But the writing part is dependent on your deep understanding of that pain and passion points, and then how to tease those in a way that is satisfying to the reader.
I opened your LinkedIn profile because I love opening LinkedIn profiles. And, I found, on your LinkedIn profile, you start your bio, sales, and marketing strategy. Let's talk more about that because according to some studies, salespeople distrust marketers and they don't share data that marketers need to create the marketing message. So can you tell from your experience how to unite salespeople and marketers in order to create a cohesive strategy?
So I've been a very good salesperson, and I've been a good marketer. And as a result of those experiences as a young man, I've actually run sales and marketing integrated teams. And the only way, in fact, I do that right now with my own company. So we have the strategy company is a company of one. That's just me. But I am also a business partner in a company called Socialite Communications. We have about 35 people there, digital marketing agency. But half of the business is all about a learning portal called Merchant Mastery. And we've got about 1,000 merchants enrolled in that program right now. Shopify merchants learning how to build thriving e-commerce sites. Now, we have a marketing team over on that side of the business, and we have a sales team over on that side of the business. One of the most powerful ways to get them to unite is to get them onto the same scorecard of KPIs and then reward them on the same metrics. So they're both rewarded for that. Part of the problem with salespeople, sales teams, and marketing teams is that they operate from two different KPI scorecards, and they are rewarded differently as well. They're not rewarded on the same KPIs. So what I've seen many times, far too often, is that marketing teams, there's a lot of busy work that's going on, and they are flat out. They're producing content, things like that. And they are putting out marketing qualified leads, MQLs, right? But the sales team doesn't like them because they think they're underqualified, not enough, no financial quality to them, those kinds of things. So until you get both teams onto the same KPI score sheet and then reward them similarly for achieving those KPIs, you can't get that unity because they're two different cultures. The ultimate KPI for marketing is deals closed, which is typically a sales KPI. But we reward our marketing team based on revenue produced, okay? Not content produced, not open rates, nothing like that. No one cares about that stuff until it leads to revenue. And so we reward them on revenue.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Yeah, great tip. You remind me another customer who told me that he lost 400,000 traffic, but he didn't lose any sales. So he got huge traffic, a lot of traffic, but this traffic didn't sell products because people often pay attention to metrics like traffic, likes, comments.
Yeah. Vanity metrics.
You don't need to do it. Find metrics that will provide results. I don't care about traffic if this traffic didn't help to sell, but it's better to get 100 people but to sell products than 100,000 people but don't sell anything with that. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about about salespeople more. Can you tell how to collect the right data from salespeople in order to create marketing strategy, because I see when people create generic strategies, uh, and can you tell what kind of data to take from salespeople to create the strategy that considers unique selling proposition and the level of competition?
I don't know if it's from collecting from salespeople. Salespeople is just one of the data points that you would incorporate. The ultimate data points are going to be about how people use your product. And so, what do they love about your product? What do they hate about your product? What do they find indifferent? Indifference is the worst, because love you can actually double down, triple down on. Hate you can theoretically cure in some way. Indifference is one of that desert lands, excuse me, that no one thrives in. And because of that, it's more difficult to understand how to cure that. Now, that understanding there, we have a coaching team as well. And that coaching team produces reams of data about what people are struggling with, what people love, what people hate, and what people find indifferent. And then they feed it back to the salespeople to develop more, qualifications at the front end, even before bringing them into the program. And then, of course, all of that's communicated back to the marketing team to create content and key messaging ideas, the big ideas that will go into the content creation. So it's a very circular type of process. And ultimately, it comes down to this one thing. Are we increasing sales as a result of that? And if we're not doing that, then we are not collecting the proper information or using the proper information.
I want to ask you about our main topic, the 7 essential stories charismatic leaders tell. Guys, it's not topic of our book. It's the main headline of a book that Kurian wrote. So, I want to ask you about benefits. What kind of benefits I can get, my audience can get by reading your book? Because, I have a huge list of books that I need to read. It's so big. I have no time to read a teeny percent of all these books. I want to read all of them. But yeah, lack of time, many other priorities to do. But anyway, I love reading books. For me, it's the most important format. I love this content better than any other content because book authors usually spend like so much time, to write a book, like 6 months, an year, it depends. But for an article, podcast episode, video, it takes like a few hours, probably a few days, not a lot. So can you tell about benefits, what kind of benefits you share on your book, and give us a strong reason to read it?
So I wrote this book a couple of years ago. It's called The 7 Essential Stories Charismatic Leaders Tell. It's available on Amazon right now, $3.49. It's very inexpensive for the Kindle version. And ultimately what it comes down to is, what are the 7 essential stories that you can use to motivate people, to compel people to action, whatever that action is, either to follow you or to buy your products or to organize in a way that it'll achieve some kind of result. So what you will find is that the book is riddled with stories of how people from throughout history have used these 7 stories in order to move people and mountains. So any charismatic leader that is out there, you can go from Moses in the Bible, all right, all the way up to John F. Kennedy or Eleanor Roosevelt, Mohandas Gandhi. When you look at the stories they told, when you look at the speeches that they gave, you will find that these 7 stories were embedded in those kinds of that kind of output that they gave to their people, because these 7 stories are primal. They are necessary for the mind of your audience, your customers, your people, in order for it to understand who they are, why they're here, what's the purpose, where are we going to go next, and why we will win. So there's 7 stories in there, 7 topics. And then within those topics, those 7 story categories, there's just dozens of examples that you can use to impel this. And you don't need to spend $3.49. If you come to my website right now, you can download the infographic for it. And I've got a free infographic for you on the right-hand column. Just download away, and it's at strategypeak.com. strategypeak.com. So strategy and then mountain peak, strategypeak.com, right-hand column.
Nice, nice, guys. I'll submit the link in the description below to this book. And I want to ask you about things that I usually do. I do a lot of them. Mistakes. In my life, I made a lot of mistakes. I keep doing them, but I can learn from mistakes. For me, failing only brings a new experience, nothing else. And I remember when Mark Zuckerberg said about failing, even more about risk, he told that the biggest risk is not to take the risk. So, can you tell about common mistakes that people still do by crafting stories and your tips how to do it better?
The number one mistake is that they don't tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
number two mistake they make is they tell the wrong stories. And the number three mistake they make is they tell boring stories. So it might be the right story, but it's boring. It's not told very well. So
Yeah.
it's either no stories, the wrong stories, or boring stories. And those are the three things that you have to fix. And these 7 stories in the book, and there's, I'll quickly rattle off the stories for you if you like, Anatoly.
Yep.
First
Go
one is
ahead.
creation origin, and that's how did we start? What was the inciting incident? The second one is our identity, beliefs, and values. Who are we as people? Who are we as people? What are the absolute highest values that we aspire to? What do we hold sacred? What must we never violate? Third book is the big idea. What is that central organizing concept that brings everything else that we do together? The fourth story is the enemy we face. What is the thing that we fight against, or what do we fight for? So an enemy doesn't have to be an individual. During hurricane season down in Florida, it's the wind, it's the rising water. And so how do we prepare for the hurricane, right? Story number 5 is all about the mighty winds. And these are the big macro trends in the environment that propel your ship forward. And these are winds, right? And the winds are the macro trends of societal winds, technological, environmental, economic, political, legislative winds. And these are either going to propel your ship forward, refuse to propel your ship forward, or capsize your boat. And so you have to really understand what those 6 winds are. Story number 6 is going to be the journey we must undertake. So the first 5 stories are all about the left-hand side of the equation. And if those 5 stories are believable, then obviously we need to do this. We have to go and undertake this journey. And it's all about understanding what that journey is. And the final story is what we call a meta-narrative. And a meta-narrative is all about telling the first 6 stories, all 6 stories, in a shorter form. But now we call it the why we will win story. We take those 6 stories, put it into a meta-narrative with the addition of keystone elements. And these keystone elements are what guarantee the win. So common keystones that you've heard throughout history would be things like God is with us, superior technology, superior people, superior strategy. And there's hundreds of them. And then when you infuse the first 6 stories and summarize them in the meta-narrative and create the keystones that you will embed in there, you have a very powerful way to get people onto your side and ready to move forward with you. And those are the 7 stories.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Guys, I put this book on my list, huge list. So I recommend to anyone to read it because you can see, you can learn from examples. By the way, I love learning from examples, real stories, not just I don't know, some stuff that smells like fake. So yeah, and it's better to practice. Let's talk about practice. I see when people overlearn, they get new skills and do nothing. For example, it's interesting that I can forget about new skills for a few hours so fast because I have many other things to do. And I found that practice is better than learning. Of course, we need to learn. Of course, we need to learn to get the right skills, but we need to implement, to test it. Can you tell how to do it right? How to practice? For example, if I read your book and practical tips, what to do after reading and going ahead.
You have to get into a habit. The quality of your life, the impact of your life is largely based on not things that you do haphazardly, but that you do as a matter of routine and habit. Now, if anybody knows you well, anybody, think of a friend, your parents, siblings, anybody who really knows you well, if there is a question, they know how Anatoly will react to it. Okay, because they understand the character of Anatoly. And character is largely the result of the habits that you practice. And character forms the habits form the character. It's a circle, right? It's a reciprocal circle. So whatever those habits are, you have to put those into play that it becomes unconscious. It becomes subconscious to just what you do. Now, prior to about 1900 in the United States, brushing your teeth was not a habit for most people. It was the result of a marketing campaign that caused people that you wake up in the morning and one of the first things you do will be to brush your teeth. And in fact, for the vast majority of us, we would feel not very good. We'd feel a little icky if we didn't brush our teeth. And, it was such a problem in the early 1900s that one of the chief reasons that men were not admitted to the U.S. Army was because of poor dental health. They were missing teeth. It was that kind of thing, right? So now this is a recent habit that has happened in the last 70, 80 years, 90 years, right? Not very long at all. And so you do those kinds of things and you make it a habit. Here's one that is very simple. Stephen King, I was just reading a little thing about Stephen King, the prolific writer of, horror novels and such, right? And his habit is to write 2,000 words a day, regardless of the quality of those words. He just writes 2,000 words a day. And then he takes those 2,000 words and then he edits it later. So the spewing, the stream of consciousness is what he gets on paper. 2,000 words a day, rain or shine, and then he will make it great later. And so the line is simply this, amateurs wait for inspiration. Everybody else just has to do.
Yeah, agree. No excuses. Yeah, completely agree with that. I remember the book from Jack London, Martin Eden, about a guy who didn't have education, experience, but he had passion and he wrote every single day. And you talked about Stephen King. I remember the best tip that I got was like, if you want to improve your writing skills, you need to do two things: to write and read a lot. So, just do two things consistently. No excuses, because if you find excuses, if you can't do today, then you make two steps back, in your experience. And it doesn't mean that you need to write if you don't like to write. Find another format, but be consistent. You can film, you can record audio podcasts, you can create design, but do it consistently. Improve, develop your skills in format that you like more. I have the last question about the future. We have AI today that can help a lot, like a regular tool. And many things can, I don't know, like metaverse, augmented reality. We'll see. I don't know what kind of future will be. But anyway, I found that marketers need to adapt fast. So technologies are coming fast, but human psychology are the same. And for example, when I read great books like from Joe Sugarman, Seth Godin, people are the same, but we have technologies and we need to develop our techniques, methods, but to consider the same psychology of people. So can you tell what kind of future will be and how to adapt today to this future?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Here's, I think you are absolutely right when you say that human psychology has not changed in 15,000, 20,000 years. Modern human civilization has been around about 12 to 15,000 years now, something like that, where we stayed in one place, built institutions, grew our own crops, raised farm animals, those kinds of things, right? And so human, the human emotions like greed and love and, desire and hate and all that, they're part of who we are as people. What we've learned to do in that time, though, is take those kinds of resources we have, this marvelous mind that we have, and be able to focus it into productive pursuits. Into productive pursuits, and where we are actually creating things that benefit us, our families, our communities, our society, those kinds of things, right? That's not to say that, capitalism and, all the other variations haven't gone off and done a lot of stupid and harmful things in the way as well. But I think at the core, most people want to be able to create safety, security, and opportunity for themselves, for their families, for their friends, society, and they want everybody to be able to participate in that. Everybody pretty much wants to create those things. Now, what's going on now is this just rapid ascent of technology. And so 1969 is when the very first inklings of the internet started, right? It connected 4 universities to transfer files. By 1994, everybody could access the internet on the World Wide Web. And it created all sorts of tidal waves of opportunity and tsunamis of destruction in its process. So nobody buys a typewriter anymore, right? No one buys a typewriter. You go into Google Docs, right? Maybe use Microsoft Word. You do it yourself, put it on your laser printer. There's very few calls for typist or typist as a profession. So we're seeing all this way that technology, and that's one of the 6 mighty wins, how it absolutely forces people into compliance in using the technology either to better themselves or be crushed by it in the process. And the only way to not be crushed by it is to opt out of society, and then you go out and be a hermit somewhere, live your life by yourself, that kind of thing. But, like you and I are marketers, we have no choice but to adapt to the AI. We have no choice but to use ChatGPT and Jasper and Copy.ai. If we don't, we're going to be left behind in the dust. And that's the same thing that happened to, same thing that happened about 300, 400,000 years ago for the first human types. So, Homo sapiens, we're just one of them, but there's Homo erectus and Neanderthals, all these kind of people. That's exactly the same thing that people failed to do when they failed to learn how to control fire. They were quickly supplanted by the people who knew how to control fire. Fire has always been around, but the humans that knew the best ways to control fire had the best opportunities for survival. And that's what's going on in technology today, and specifically with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so valuable. I agree with that. By the way, I only want to add that it's not only about marketing. All niches need to adapt AI today, because I see when people are scared that this technology can replace them. Yeah, it can if you don't adapt today, if you don't do it, because your competitors can adapt and overcome in the long run. So when I spoke with accounting, many other niches, and they told me, no, we don't see AI in our niches. You don't see today, but tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know some big companies that created tools with AI and 8-figure businesses. I spoke with the owners of these companies, and they started to adapt AI to accounting. So I think all niches need to do it. It's better to start today, to adapt, then the future will be good. In other ways, not. Yeah. Kurian, it's a big pleasure to get on my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience the best way, how to keep learning from you, how to follow you, how to reach out to you.
Well, the best way is to come in and take a look at the book, The 7 Essential Stories Charismatic Leaders Tell. If you like some of the stories I told on this show, you're going to see just, dozens of these stories within the book itself. $3.49 on Amazon, so inexpensive. But come and grab the infographic at strategypeak.com. Just download it. I'll have all 7 stories there plus examples.
Nice, guys. You can find the link to this book in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. Love it. So valuable, guys. You need to read this book. You need to follow Kurian on social media. You find social media accounts in the description. And see you next time.
Anatoly, thanks for having me.